Yeah, perfect. I will start at 8 p.m. That's fine. We are live. We should be live. And alive, of course. Yeah. I see now. Yeah. Okay. I see people starting to come. We're about to begin in 3 minutes, around 8 sharp. 8 p.m. in Italy, of course. People is coming, are coming. Sorry for my English. Allora. Okay. I will probably ask everyone that can hear me if they hear me well, just to be sure, but it should be everything fine. Yeah. Laowa's guys, they said me that at least on YouTube the audio is fine, so half happy. Now I'm going to see if love the shirt. Thank you. We still didn't begin, but 2 minutes to go. But thanks, Timothy. This is a photo of mine actually, so thank you. And the brand is an Italian brand that make these t-shirts with photographs from different photographers, not just me. Thank Frank to tell me that you hear me well. I hope my English is not too alarming, too bad for everyone, but I write often and I don't speak very often in English, so I write. I hope it will be right for you. Let's start in 1 minute. 1 minute to go, folks. Hope all the things all done. I will probably share the live streaming too, and we are going to start. Okay, it's 8. Let me just finish to share these, of course. And welcome everyone. I think we can start. It's 8 p.m. in Italy, so as we agreed with Laowa's guys, I welcome you to one of the last live show for this season for Laowa's Macro Masters. I have been preceded by some very talented photographers. I salute Thomas Chan and Nikki Bays as well. They are some friends and very talented photographer I personally admire. So it's very nice to be part of this group of people. I'm like some macro photographers. I'm also a naturalist. So I started, just to present myself, I'm Emanuele Biggi, of course. You read it somewhere in the previews of this live show. I'm from Italy. I live in Genoa, in the northern side of Italy, not too far from Milan, but far enough to be along the sea. So it's a very nice place to be. I started my passion for photography as a naturalist. So it's nature that gave me the passion for clicking. And I soon went to the macro as soon as I started photographing, except of course for the, you know, party photographs, stuff like this. I start as soon as I get into photography, I started photograph small animals. This is the reason, and the reason is that I love the smaller stuff. So it's the reason I'm here, of course, this evening. First of all, I want to tell you something before actually starting. I'm a naturalist, and I'm also a naturalist involved in conservation, and I like that my images have a conservation approach, even those that are just natural history photographs. So during my presentation tonight, for me tonight actually, I will try to let you know how I work. I mean, I don't want just to share techniques, but I also want to share some ethics or just some way I do things, to be honest and to be happy when I go back home with my bulk of images. So let's start. Of course, I told you that I'm a macro photographer, so, and you are here for this reason, of course. Of course, you probably saw some images around the net 1 or 2 years ago. This image won the Close-Up Photographer of the Year competition. I'm mostly an herpetologist, so as a naturalist, I worked on mostly on amphibians and reptiles. So the main part of my work, even in these days, is related to these animals, including some arthropods and spiders as well, I mean insect spiders, crustaceans, and so on. I like macro for portraits, of course. I photograph in the classic way, you know, like this, a classic portrait of tree frogs, a small, very tiny frog, plant hopper larva inside this foam nest, foam hide. I try to photograph action, so I like the action in macro. So I also try to depict this kind of macros, not just portraits. I go fast because I have many things to tell you, so I don't want to spoil too much, to bother you too much. But of course, I'm following the chat as well. Like hello from England, from Lee Hall. Hi everyone. I was grande. Shin Sirachai says, our awesome t-shirt. Hi Shin, it's very nice to meet you here in this live. It's an honor to be followed by Shin today. It's a very good friend, and he's a very talented photographer and conservation photographer as well. So it's very nice. Sorry, I went away from my path, but I also wanted to say hello to everyone that is following this live show tonight. Go further, because I also like to show the animals in their environment, because I think that animals in their environment in one single image are worth being depicted, because in one single image, you show the bond between the animal and the ecosystem. So in this very fast world where we have no time to unfortunately, to see many pictures of a wall article, sometimes like in a social network feed or something like this, a wide angle, sorry, I will present them in a few minutes. A wide angle image like this one, showing a Peruvian iguana inside the eye socket, the empty eye socket of a dead seal, inside all the package, inside the coastal desert of Peru. It's a very telling image, without without showing many images of various macros, various landscape images, and so on. So I always liked to share this, to share in one single image a wide angle macro. We talk a lot about this in these days. It's a kind of, I could say it's a kind of famous technique now. But don't get me wrong, it's a technique that has been famous, very famous, and Shin, that is following us now, would surely know. It's a technique that was used a lot underwater with wide-angle lenses, but it was seldom seen outside. So since when I was a university student and I started seriously to take photographs, I wanted to show the animals in their environment, like the spiders that only lives inside a small valley in a very small island in the Madeira archipelago. We could say that it's Portugal, but it's actually an archipelago that is in front of the Atlantic coast of Africa, so it's more African than Portuguese, of course, biogeographically speaking. So in one single image, you can share the bond between the animals, the subject, plants also, of course, and its environment. You can see from this image that the spider lives in a very barren environment. So showing this image it takes you inside its environment, inside its ecological perspective. So let's go on. I don't want to be too long. This is another image I put just to let you know how I like to show these animals as well. And of course, I use different lenses. I use macro lenses, wide angle macro lenses, and something in between. You know probably Laowa lenses, of course, and so I think this is, after all the live show before me, it's not really mandatory that I tell you about every lenses, but I will cite them and I will at first divide them in sections, so I can show you some of my images done shoot with that lens particularly, because in the end I would like to show you the step further. I would like to show you how I like to pack everything to tell stories. So the last thing I will show you tonight is what I do with all these lenses and all these images. Not single images and it's done. I like to work on stories. So tonight I will show you some examples just to give you a hint about what I do, what I like to do for work, for something like this. Thank you, Timothy, about the compliments about the iguana image. That was also highly commended at the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. So I put that at the beginning to show off a little bit, sorry. Timothy says, I love the nature of naturalist photography. I'm sure you plan on addressing this, but wondering how you find these photos opportunities. Yeah, this is a very important thing. Let's go back for this one, for example, or for this one as well. This is even better. I study. I mean, I never go almost never go to the field without reading something before. And something, I mean books, scientific articles, conservation articles, whatever. Everything that I need to know about something that attracted my attention. And I could have been attracted by another article, or a friend that told me, you know, there's that spider that lives in that small island of the Madeiran archipelago and it's endangered. Actually, this spider, also thanks to my work, but not only, of course, other entities are involved, has been declared as critically endangered by IUCN on 2014, and end of 2014. So this photography is related, as an opportunity, is related to some work I did before to go there and know what I expect to find. So it's a long work before going to the field, if it's what you intended to know. Hello to Marco Colombo as well, that I saw it just logged in. Marco Retana, saludos desde Costa Rica. Hello from Italy, and hello to every Costa Rican guys, Panamanian and Central American and Peruvian, all the old people all around the world. And as I told before, I don't want to go off the path. I use various lenses. First of all, I begin with a macro. I of course use a 60mm lens macro from Nikon, and yeah, you know that it's this one. It's classic. I had also the other one, the previous one, because I need to carry a autofocus lens. But lately I only use the lens for fast-moving animals, you know, some big things that moves. So I still have macro lens, but also a very fast autofocus if I need it. For all the other images, now in my backpack, I use the 100mm from Laowa. And the reason is because it's I think the sharpest lens I ever tried. Even there are other brands that make very nice lenses, but this really, it's one step higher in sharpness, in, of course, chromatic aberration avoidance. And I really like this lens. It's also kind of lightweight but sturdy as well. So it's metal. I mean, it's something that I can carry in the field without worrying too much. And I take rain. For example, for this image I'm showing you of the two mating tree frogs, I was actually under rain and close to a waterfall. So a mechanical lens without any electronics like the Laowa 100, it's actually for me a plus when I go to some of these places, because it can avoid me to having troubles with electronics, with autofocus, with other things. Or like stabilization. Some lenses are stabilized, like the 105mm Nikon, but I broke once the stabilizer, and I couldn't make a in focus shoot. So I really prefer this lens that is done for the field. And of course, with this lens I do the classic portraits of animals. This is from a project in Panama where I'm gone before the COVID situation, the coronavirus situation, to photograph all the different forms and colorations of Agapomilio, the strawberry poison dart frog, and of course jumping spiders. For this reason, this night I'm not alone here. There's actually my girlfriend in the other room, but it's not the case. I wanted to show you my two roommates for this night, and they are here. It's two felted jumping spiders. I love jumping spiders. And actually this one is based on one of my macro images of Porsche spiders. And this one is just cute. It's a Maratus, it's a peacock spider. And the lady who felt them for me, it's an Italian lady that now lives in Chile, if I remember well. So hello to Valentina for this work, and thanks. Let's go back to my speech. There's a reason because they are here. I will show you some of my lenses, equipment from this camera too, so it's easier for you to see everything. Hello to everyone. Question from YouTube. Jones asks, do you use any flash in this shot? I mean, I think every shot I showed you until now, I used flash. But I like field flash. So I like to mix environmental sunlight with the flashes. There are various ways to achieve that, but normally if it's sunlight, very strong sunlight like this one, I just put a flash on the other side to kill some of the shadows that the sun casts on the subject, for example. In other situations where there's not so much light, like this one, I even use flashes to have some environmental light. I mean, this is not totally sunlight, it's all flash, almost all flashes. You can see some of the dusking sky above the canopy, but it's the only natural light you can see here. Here as well, I used the flashes to give a glimpse of light and to enlight a little bit the subject, but not too much. Very low power and with diffuser. I will be more accurate in a few minutes because I will show you some of the equipment I use, of course, so stay tuned. But with the 100 millimeters Laowa, of course, it's an impressive lens for another reason. It has been, I mean, Laowa's also went out with 60 millimeters, but this 100 millimeters also has a 2.1 magnification ratio. So this is one of my preferred things, because with one lens I can have an infinite and 2.1 lens macro. So it's very useful. In this case, for example, I photographed this large jumping spider from Peru with its prey. It's a termite, I think. It's a winged termite. And to achieve a magnification higher than 2.1 that I needed for this image, I actually cropped in camera with I don't remember if it was a D850 or a Zeta 7. Don't remember, but one of those. So they have a very large megapixel number, so I can crop in camera using the DX format or the 1.2 format, and it's fine for many photos because you still have a very large image in the end. So I don't care too much about cropping in camera, of course. And I also, if I need it, I crop a little bit also in post-processing. I don't like cropping too much, but if I need it and I still have a very large image, it's fine, because in that case I can retain some of depth of field by cropping and not by approaching it too much. But of course there are occasions that need to be more into the subject. There are subjects that are very tiny, so I more often use this one, the Laowa 25 millimeters lens, ultra macro. I seldom use it at 5 times macro. I normally use it at 2.5 to 3 magnification and with some cropping in camera most of the time. This is one of my very first shoots with that lens, and it was a land pillbug. It was very tiny, and I tried to push the boundaries of this lens. I closed a little bit more the aperture. Quality, for this fraction, of course, wasn't super, of course, because I closed like at f8 or something like this. Very pushy for my side. But I like this image, so I kept it. I didn't throw it away. And these are other examples. This is one of the other ones that I shoot when the lens was out. I like to show animals, even in the straight macro like this. I really like to show the animals straight into their environment. I go a little bit forward. These are other images that I shoot with this lens. This is a very tiny arachnid. It's a palpigrada. It's a very tiny one. I mean, the body of this animal, I think it's something like 1 millimeters, 1.5 millimeters. So in this case, I was really pushing the magnification and the cropping, everything. So I really needed some magnification. I see some questions. Are you not upset with missing automatic aperture? Yeah. Jan Korba, I hope to spell your name right, is asking if I miss the automatic aperture in Nikon. If I use the D850, I actually see. I can see the aperture set on the lens on my camera, because there's the mechanical communication for the aperture, so it's fine. And also, I really like that reflex cameras like the D850. I don't have it here. Oh no, yeah, it's here, but it's in the underwater sleeve. I really like that it stays open at 2.8 until you click. So you can focus with a reflex camera, with a classic viewfinder, very easily with the 100 millimeters. With the other cameras, mirrorless cameras, the Z7 cameras like this, you have focus peaking, and I also use often the magnification viewfinder, so I can check focus while I'm held in the. I hate tripods, so I normally handheld the cameras all the time if I can, if time permits me that. So yeah, I don't miss it too much. Actually, I really like, for a reason I will show you later, the aperture on the lens. This is a big plus for me, and I will show you why. Timothy also asked, this lens looks like it has a good depth of field. Yeah, it looks like this. It's actually, depth of field doesn't change too much between lenses. I mean, between same lenses. What looks like having a big depth of field, it's like this one. It's that I try to accurately find a good angle, so I have most of the animal in focus, or at least a very good depth of field. I don't really like. I'm a documentarist actually. I'm not an artist. I'm not considering me an artist. I'm more a naturalist that wants to document nature. So I really like to show something like, as I can show you now, the biofluorescence. So I try to have good depth of field whenever I can, if I need it, of course. This is a very tiny snake's eye, and with a 25 millimeters lens, of course, you have to go close to the animal. I will show you this image better. So this is the head of the snake, very close to the lens. And it was a venomous one, but in the end, with the knowledge of the animals, you have to be aware that they can bite for defense, not ever for attack. I had the possibility to shoot this image. So I really like both these lenses, for the portraits, for the macro and advanced macro photography. And as you can see in this image, I always use diffusers on the flashes, and I will show you the equipment in a few minutes. I really don't want to run out of the time, so I will check just a little bit. That's a nice question. Ori Livni asked me on Facebook if I ever focus stack. No. Yeah, I mean, I did focus stacking sometime, but I don't like it at all. In this presentation, there are no focus stacking images. There are no, I think, yeah, no, there are no captive animal, I mean, terrarium animals put in nature to do a fake natural image. I don't do that. I photograph captive animal if I need it for conservation reasons, for scientific reasons. You will see some of these images in the end of my presentation. So yeah, this kind of photograph, I do that, but I don't, and I don't like focus stacking because I normally shoot live animals, so I seldom do that. I don't like spending hours on the computer doing post-processing with the various focus stacking programs, so I really don't like that technique. If I need it, I use it. I mean, if I need to, for a scientific exhibition, for example, I do scientific exhibitions for museums. In that case, if I need a very in-focus image of a tiny animal, I could do focus stacking, but if I need it. I normally really like these kind of images. So no focus stacking, I don't like it. Too much time in front of a computer. Another lens I use, of course, I told you about wide angle macro. This is a prime lenses for that. The Laowa 15mm lens. I started doing wide angle macro while there was no lens for that. When I was at university, I'm now 40 years old. When I started, when I more seriously started photography at the university, I was around 20, so 20 years ago. I wasn't doing wide angle macro, but I was looking for it. I was inspired from some photographers in underwater, and then after a few years, the smaller majority book from Piotr Naskreki went out with many very nice wide angle macro photography. So I started to photograph using very narrow, very thin extension tube from Nikon, the PK11, the smaller one of the trio from Nikon, mounted on a Vivitar 24mm lens, very crap lens, but it permitted me to make some wide angle macros. Then another brand did a 15mm fisheye lens, another one, it was Sigma, I think. Then another one came out, and finally, in these last years, I think the perfect wide angle macro lens came out, and this is this one. It's not a fisheye lens, and I like that for many reasons, even if I still use fisheye lens for other for some photos when I need the the barrel, the distortion typical of the fisheye. But normally I like the 15mm to shoot my wide angle macro like this one, for example. I want to check some comments as well. Yeah, Jimmy from Laowa asked from YouTube actually. Taka Asepa, I think I'm speaking well its name. What do you use to hold the flashes? Okay, let's go into, for example, for a while into some technique. I don't need to show every photo I put in my presentation, so I like to talk also about some technical stuff. And this is what I use. I think that another photographer, at least Nikki Bay, showed that before in his live show. It's the brand is Photo Pro. It's a Photo Pro, and probably you can, it's a bracket, of course, it's a extensible bracket, movable bracket. I like it very much because you can move very fast the flashes and go in vertical. So if I need a vertical flashing, I can do that. Of course, I had it, and you can change these. You can change the various pieces, also remove them, add them, or change them in case they are broken, like this one I broke. It's a very old one, this one. This is also the old version of the Photo Pro bracket. The newer one has better plastic, so I will advise you to buy, if you need it, to buy the new one, of course. But I think the old is lost in the, is forever, for good. And I always use these macro flashes. That these are the Mikey or Meike flashes from a Chinese brand, Mikey. I used before the Nikon ones, but I really liked the fact that they did the commander in radio. So it's not an infrared system, it's a radio system. So you can put one flash behind a tree or a stem or a leaf, and it will work always, even in full sun. And this was an issue with the infrared commander of the Nikon, for example. So I really like this system, even if it's maybe not very sturdy in bad weather, under the rain, like the Nikon was, but I really like that. Another thing I like of this system, of the flash system, someone asked me about the flash system, so it's the reason I'm talking about that now, is that it works with normal batteries, like the mini Stilo, the AAA batteries, and you can find them, I think, almost everywhere in the world. So if you run out of batteries, and I use charging batteries, of course, rechargeable batteries, of course, but everything can happen in the field, so you find them quite easily. The Commander uses the bigger one, but still Stilos, so it's very easy to find them around. These are, since I'm sure the question will come out sooner or later, if it didn't already. The diffuser are just cheap, very cheap plastic diffuser I bought from eBay, Amazon, I don't know. They come in like they are normally cross-shaped. There's also a piece for here. I cut it, and I put some Velcro here and here, and so it's very easy to attach it to the flashes very fast. And they are, of course, you can apply them, you can put them away very easily, very fast also. So I like them so much. So this is the bracket, of course, Photo Pro 903 D. No, it's actually DMM 903 model. It's the only model you can find, and you can find it in the Nikki Bay's website also. I think he sells them, so you can find them quite easily. I see some other people. How much is the set you have without the body and the lens? How much is the set you have? How much? What do you mean, Piotr? I don't know. Bonjour to Mathieu, some friends following. Django says, I personally like morning field stacks with natural light. Of course, yes. Yeah. Sometimes focus stacking is just fine. I'm not against those techniques. I'm not really against any techniques that doesn't involve animal abuse. I'm against every technique that involves animal abuse. So you seldom see images by me of animal constraint. I mean, I try not to do that. I always like the approach of touching animals as a naturalist. So I grab some grasshoppers. I like to hold mantis on my hand, like this little guza. I can show you that in this image. Sorry, this one. This is a bark mantis from Peru, and I really like these insects, but I try to avoid too much touching while I photograph them, because it's stressful for them. This is another image made with shot with a 15mm lens of the same pair you saw before in macro mode, with the 100. Another one, spider, caterpillar from Peru, a very large group of leaf cutter ants passing below the camera. I put the camera with the 15mm very low on the ground, letting the passing ants to pass. So I didn't stop their passage, and I had this strange perspective of them. So it was very nice. I can show it quite easier like this. And I love action with the wide angle, so I like to shoot animals that do something or inside the environment, as I told you before. When I don't have natural light, because it's night like this with a wide angle, sometimes I shoot without any other flash or light. I just use the 2 macro flashes you saw. Like in this image, I just used 2 flashes, and that's all. In other images, I put a 3rd or 4th one, even 2 more flashes in the background to give some light to the background in wireless mode. In this case, I used the 2 macro flashes to photograph the frog, and another one, a big one with a radio command from Nikon, the small command you put into the camera. So another brand, two different flash brands all together, to give some lights in the background. If I'm lucky and there's a moonlight that gives some light to the environment, I even mix lights and techniques together. This image in particular was shot with flashes on the foreground, and I then, after the first flash shoot, the exposition lasted for about 30 seconds. So I had time to change both focus and also a little bit the aperture, so to have the stars and the mount, the cave, actually the mining sites behind this toad in good sharpness, so they were not blurred because of the lack of depth of field, so at such distance. So I really I always try to mix techniques for this kind of photography. I wanted to show. Okay, someone posted the Photo Pro DMM 930 macro, so thanks. Okay, let's go further. And then, of course, in this last period, I embraced the use of this lens that I really like. I will show you why I like it. You will probably have seen this lens, this 24mm probe lens, as they call this, around for videos. And I must admit that I also use that for videos as well, for macro videos as well. And I must say that I also love it deeply for wide angle true macro photography. Don't expect to do with this lens. I seldom try to do this kind of photos, because a mushroom like this in the open and a rather big one can be photographed very well with a classic 15mm, as I showed you before. It's almost the same image, as you can see, and you have more sharpness. The photo is sharper with the 15mm, because this one, of course, is a it's a very extreme lens, but I like it. I like it because I can put it on the water, so I don't have to fish the pond animals and put them on a small aquarium like I did in the past. I didn't like that too much, because you have to set up things. I wanted to show animals in their environment, even for macros like this. So water animals, water insect like these, a spider diving underwater. This is a water-related wolf spider from Italy. It's an Arctosa, the scientific name. And when it feel threatened, or even for hunting, it often goes underwater, so you can see all the droplets, all the hair droplets on its body. I like to use this lens for showing some of the underwater life of the animals I love the most, like amphibians. These are frogs' eggs. These are the tail of the frog eggs. So maybe the problem of this lens underwater is just one, is that is not super sharp. Why? Because it's a straight lens, so it suffer a little bit for diffraction, but I still love the image. I use them for printings, for photographing, for scientific exhibitions, so I don't really care about this real less sharpness compared to a classic macro underwater with a classic underwater case, because it permits you to get to places where I couldn't go with any other type of lens. And this is true for underwater as well as out of the water. For example, Laowa guys, please don't see this image, skip that. Close your eyes, please. For example, this image shows a shoot I did with a classic 15mm macro lens from Laowa, and I had to dig in the sand to add this angle. So, and also risking to bother the animals as well. So it was a very tricky photograph to get. Risking to harm the lens, of course, and so on. I like the perspective. So I wanted to get images like this one with a very low perspective of a very tiny animal, without having the problem of risking the lens or risking to bother the animal. This is what I like the most about the 24 probe lens. It permits you to get low, and I mean very low on the ground. The lower side of this image is water. The spider was almost into the water, and this is a water skater, and I was just aside of the stream pool, almost into the water with the camera, and I really like the perspective, the macro perspective. This is a spectacle salamander as well, another very good perspective. To give you a difference between the lenses, this is a normal 100mm ultra macro photograph to a black widow. This is the same animal shoot with the 24mm probe, and this is what I tried to get with the 15mm. I wasn't able to stay so low on the ground because I touched the stone. I couldn't place the flashes in a proper way. So I really like the way this lens, like in this case, for example, another shoot of the 100mm, and this is the position of the 24mm, so you can get this image, the spiders, a young lady with this young future husband on the left side of the image, right below, so you can see them inside their environment. So really, I really like this kind of image and this kind of lens. Another, I just passed fast. This is a classic 100mm ultra macro lens shoot of a nursery web spider protecting his spawn. And I tried to use on another spider, of course, on a sunny day, the 24mm, and this was the results. So I was inside the nursery web without alarming too much the spider, without breaking the threads. You see another one here from the same occasion, and further on the eggs hatched, so I was able to photograph the lady protecting the already born spiderlings and so on. So I really like the perspective. I also like the way this lens get up inside the things. And if you are inside transparent or almost transparent things, I use that on my favor to have this strange, odd perspective of tiny things in their environment, into their environment. So you can really tell the ecology of the world they live, not just a portrait of them. This is a hot one. It's actually I put the front of the 24 millimeters inside the holes of these big red blood-like fungus to shoot the other one in the back. Yeah, that was a very hot image to do. And another one I like very much is this one. I saw that salamander walking slowly under the leaf, probably escaping by me, of course, from me. And I stopped, I waited, and it didn't came out. So I put the 24 millimeters under the leaf, and I was able to shoot this image using some flashes, or I don't know, I don't remember if it was flash or LED lights under. So I really like the way you can get into things, into action with this lens. Yavanna Artsma is asking if it's difficult to light with this lens, to have nice lights. Yeah, it can be tricky. One thing I experienced with this lens is that it's a 14 to 40 aperture, so it's very light addicted. It wants light, and the problem you can get with this lens is that if you want to use natural light or if you need to lower have a longer exposure periods, you risk to have some blurring, so motion blur, even for the camera's movements, because it's a very long lens. So I always try to have higher ISO settings to have a faster exposure speed, and of course if I have the possibility, I use flashes or something very fast that frees the action in some cases. If I use natural light, I normally photograph with this with this lens at 22 f22 aperture. That is a very nice one for quality and depth of field. I very seldom go over 22, and I very seldom go to 14, because I think that this lens works better in the middle at around 20 to 22 aperture. So I try to use this lens in this way. Even during lockdown, I was able to shoot this very tiny spider in my home, just in close to my kitchen. It was actually eating as well. I go further because as it wasn't already nerd enough for this night, I also tried to build my own wide-angle macro lenses using the 25 millimeters as well, to get some very odd shots like this one, this one, this one. Very tiny animals portrayed in wide angle. This is a technique I'm always pursuing. I hope Laowa, that is listening as well, will try to build maybe a head-on for their already present macro lenses, or a brand new lens that permits these kind of shots that are different from the 24 probe lens. So let's see, and let's wait and see. I go a little bit further. I prepare some other pictures, but I wanted to finish my presentation about telling what I do with all these images. I do portrait, as you saw. I do wide angle macros. I do ultra macros, 24 probe macros, and so on. And I packed all them together to build stories. And one of the last works I'm doing in these last years, it's based on it's focused on amphibians, and of course I show their incredible colors, forms, the fluorescence, the UV light reflectance of some of them, the characteristic of the eggs, the larvae, the macro of the eyes to show and portray their beauty, their incredible biodiversity. I also, of course, try to pack things together, so I use wide-angle macros to show them in their environment, trying to sync from 8, looking at their tadpoles in these small swimming pools. This one was actually a pitcher plant pitcher with a frog inside and the tadpoles inside the water of the plant. So it was a very odd situation. And disclaimer, I didn't drill a hole to do this image. Most of the pictures gets dry on the sides and they are naturally holed. So I never do that. I don't cut things. I never try to do stuff like this. Some other examples of what I do for amphibians: I try to depict them while mating, to show parental care, even underwater. In this case, I shoot this image with a underwater housing, so it's a different shoot. This is done with this is shoot with a 24 probe underwater. This is another one with a underwater housing. This is another one with a 24 probe, and so on. I go very fast. I don't want to finish too late. Hi Emanuele, have you ever had any issue with the make a flash? I'm very worried because of the small battery size. Could you please let me know? No, I actually never had any problem. I just noticed one odd things with the make a flashes lately. I bought another pack of flashes because I needed one more commander and 2 more flashes, just to be sure. I go to the field and I have a backup. And this new package was a new version, a second version. So you have to check the name. If there are 2 in Roman numbers, be aware that that commander and those flashes don't work with the previous one. They don't. I don't know why, but they don't talk each other. So if you have one system, you have to follow and to continue with that system, with a type 1 or type 2. They are all the same. The only difference between the first type, the third model, they are very similar. But is that if I use with the second one, the second type, if I use this light, the flashes will work when I click. If I use the other type, the first type, it doesn't work. It's only this light, and the flashes. I mean, in my kit, they don't work. So only with the type 2 model of Makey flashes. So this is something very interesting, I think. I wanted to see some of the image from the questions as well. Was that with the Nauticam port for the 24? No, Robert. Robert Arnold is asking if I shoot these images, like for example, like this one, with a port, with a underwater housing. No, I was outside of the pond and I just put into the water the first piece of lens. This one. I will show you better. In this case, in this way. Sorry guys, you have to move. Okay, I just put into the water this piece, this part. From this side, from to this, it's not waterproof. And I learned that in the hard way, because some water entered here while I was busy photographing, and I flued a little bit the lens, so I had to dismount it and to dry it out. I was able to recover everything, so it's pretty easy actually if it's all if it's only clean fresh water, not but be aware that it can happen, so never pass that point, of course. Trying to decide macro wide angle from the water, looking forward for the yeah, Robert asking, have you had a make him? I'm looking at some questions. Yeah, Christian says that the 24 along with the 15 is one of the most creative lenses, and I think is right. And in the end, just to finish my presentation on the photography side, I pack everything in a single, in this case long, but just for you. I normally select a little bit more, of course. I pack everything, even another 24 probe photograph, some action as well, some of the issues the amphibians have in nature, like a snake eating them, like this beetle larva eating a tadpole. And also, of course, I'm a conservation photographer, as I told you before, so I try to enlighten the issues related to humans. So another very big portion, I slightly kept it aside tonight because it was more a macro speech tonight, but I try to photograph things that don't work, like the consumption of frogs, or endangered frogs in Peru, the mortality of frogs in Italy because of climate change, the mortality of frogs and other animals for pathogens like the chytrid fungus in various parts of the world. In this case, it was the Andean part of Peru. I try to photograph people, of course, people that are doing their best to save amphibians. So conservation photography, even macro photography, is also about this, showing what is wrong with nature, what is wrong with human about nature, and what we can do for make things better. I knew many heroes about this, many heroes that works and swab and study pathogens, like Vance Bredenburg from the San Francisco State University, or this is a very nice guy from Panama, and he actually, his name is Edgardo Griffith. He runs the Valle de Anton Conservation Center, the EVAC Foundation, and he saved some of the last specimen, some of the last remaining specimens of these small, very colorful toads from Panama. And one of them, this one, it's called the golden frog. It's actually a toad. It's a Telopus deteki. It's the symbol of Panama, actually. And it's actually now believed extinct in the wild. So he did a very, very big work on saving these animals and trying to put them again in nature. So in the end, there's always hope for these animals. We are trying to save them, and as a photographer, as a conservation photographer, I think that we have to work on this side too, not just for macro. And to end this, I must conclude saying that conservation photography, in this case, in the macro world, in this world, is something that always translates into natural storytelling, because we are not working on tigers, on pandas, on things that already encountered the pleasure of people. We are working on many animals that are disliked by people. So I still work on natural history stories, but in this case they're also conservation, because people start to like these animals, start to understand these animals, and then they are more empathic to them. So I'm not just working on the human side, but also still working on the macro side for this reason. So I don't know if there are some question about techniques. I left almost every techniques, every technical things for the end. I already show you some of the equipment I use. I wanted to show you some more. Like, I don't like tripods. Some of the things I carry with me in nature. I don't like tripods, but I always have one with me. At least two actually. One is a classic, gorilla pod, as a flexible one, tiny one, lightweight, and I can use it with a 15 millimeters to be low on the ground and to have lower exposure timings. And I also use a classic tripod like this Benro. I like the way it come out, and you can go very low on the ground. And I sometimes also, with this one, I sometimes also use the Anel plate to get even lower with the camera, and so on. Ori is also asking, what is the most important things for someone starting with natural macro photography? Ori, I must say that the most important thing, I can say that the most important thing for someone starting with natural macro photography is knowing nature. It's something not related to the techniques or the lenses or flashes. I know we are on a more technical side this night, but in this case I must say that the most important thing for every kind of natural photography, including macro, is knowing the subject. If you know the subject, you can retrieve very nice images, very telling stories, different angles. You know why that animal is doing that things. So you can catch the moment more easily. So know your subject. This is the most important thing. And on a technical side, choose a very good lens. Before the camera, before the flashes, everything. The lens is the most important thing, I think. Thanks, Sheen agrees with me. Yeah, Steven is asking what was the tripod model. I actually have two tripods I'm using in these last years. One is it's a Benro. I don't remember the name, but it's a Go Plus series, if I remember well. It's a carbon fiber Go Plus Benro. If I remember well, it was taken away, but the model, but I think it's Go Plus Travel carbon fiber tripod. And the other one is it's a Traveler Gizzo tripod, like this one. I like it because it's even lighter than the other one. Also, one of the most important things I carry with me, not depending on the tripod, is this one. I show you separately because I really like to. Is this head? If I need a head, I use this. It's a Acratech ball head. I really pushed this head in my trips, and it always survived. It's crazy how it's lasting. It's smooth like the moment I bought it. It's crazy. It's not cheap, and I don't earn any money by telling you that, but I really like this head. Really. Zoltan Horse, I'm planning to order the Laowa 100 tonight, but I decided to go with the Canon F electric aperture version. Yeah, of course, Zoltan. It's the same depending on the camera you use. It doesn't matter. If you have automatic aperture, good for you. I think we have also a code, a discount code for tonight. If Laowa guys tell me, I think I don't want to get wrong, but maybe there's a small discount if someone wants to buy some lenses from Laowa from tonight. I still wait for some question. I wanted to show you some more things. I lately use some LEDs lights also for underwater mostly. For example, with the 24 millimeters lens, if you remember the image with of the eggs, like I will check it very fast. This one, okay. I show you. Okay, this shoot is done with LED lights, because underwater I don't have flashes, so I have to use LED lights. And I think they are very nice if you use modern cameras with a live view. It's really nice to work with LED lights instead of flashes, because you already see how the camera and the image is going to work. So when I can, I very often use LED lights in these last years, even for very hard macro. So this is one of the other technical things I do. I wanted to share you a bit more, but I'm just for your, this is not Laowa of course related, but just for your, just to thank you for being here. This is my underwater equipment when I don't use the 24. When I have to go underwater, actually underwater, I use this sleeve from Haltex and various lenses, including the 15 millimeters lens. It's very portable. I can put it in my backpack there and it's fine. I have the Canon 100 lens and I got to try the Laowa 100, and I must say the Laowa was a lot sharper. Yes, Lee Hall said what I said. I mean, the 100 is incredibly sharp. Even I normally use this. This is maybe something I should mention. I normally use the 100 at f8 because when I use it, I often use it at 1:1 to 2:1 magnification. So after 1:1, if you put f8, it's the equivalent of photographing at f16. It's double in this case. For a rule, I can put this in the comments maybe later if you want. So I do that to be sure that I have the sharpness and the quality I need, but I did not respect this personal rule in the past, shooting even at 11 at 1.1 or even further, even 1.5 magnification, and I must say that it works pretty well if you don't have to print the image like 6 meters wide. So it's really sharp. I really like this lens for this reason too. I didn't mention that. I also wanted to show you one thing. I'm sorry, this flashes get in the way all the time. I'm building a new nerd wide-angle macro, waiting for the Laowa's one to come out, maybe in the future. And I followed also some of the Nikki Bay's advices. He's a friend. So I'm building this wide-angle macro with a Cctv lens on this. And this is, I still lack some of the lenses, but I'm using the 100. So I will be using the 100 from Laowa for this technique, because I tried with the 25 as I showed you in the presentation, but this is way better than the in the quality, I mean, than the 25 when you use the CCTV camera. I mean, I'm not saying that the 25 is not like this. I'm saying that if you use a CCTV lens to have these strange, odd-looking images of very tiny animals in the wide-angle macro, I prefer that 100 Laowa instead of the 25 ultra macro, because probably the lens coupling among all the things is working better. So this is another thing that is you have to keep in mind when you try to do a relay lens, as they are called. So what did you use to connect the CCTV lens to a macro lens? I knew that someone would have asked that. I have no secrets, because I only care about what I have to tell in my stories, so I'm not jealous about techniques. I will show you here. I tried. So I have this is a step down ring from 67 the 100 millimeters macro lens, front element, to 43 millimeters, because I needed for this one, that is a Rhinox 250 magnification lens. Then I bought another element that is a step down ring, that is a 49 to 25, to put this tube that is 45 millimeters long, and then an adapter for the CCTV lens. These are all things that I found on Amazon or eBay, stuff like this. So if you do some search, you can find it. But I must say that all this stuff really depends on what you find. The CCTV camera lens I here, it's unnamed CCTV lens from the net. I couldn't even track it again to buy another one if I scratch it or stuff. So it's really depending on the CCTV lens and on the lens you are coupling with it. So if you use a normal macro, if you use the 100 Laowa or the 25, it's really about the various combination. I also talk with other people, other friends that are trying these things, and it's always about lens combination. This is the reason, because I hope Laowa I would like them to do something like this, maybe as an add-on for some of the other lenses they already have. But in the meantime, I use this, and I'm really enjoying the 24. So I'm really happy with this lens. It's rectified, it's not fisheye, very nice. Thanks, great survey of practical aspect of macro as you do. It's also emphasis on understanding subjects. Yeah, Frank, yes, I really think that understanding the subject is the first step to have good images, not just in macro, but in general, in natural photography, in wildlife photography. I'm not sure if you have any other question. 1 hour quarter is past, so I don't want to. I also asked to the Laowa guys if they want to have to share some more. Yeah, you're welcome, Joanna, and we welcome Lee for all the questions. I don't know if I wait for some more questions. This is the L plate I mentioned before. This permits me. This side is better. Oh, even better if I do like this. This is the L plate I often use when I use the tripod to get very low on the ground with a sturdy placed tripod. I use the normal Nikon flashes when a normal flash is involved. So it's my actual backpack is quite simple in this case. I carry along a very big backpack, but mostly because I pack the underwater things with the normal things. If I wouldn't do that, if I wouldn't need that, I probably use another smaller backpack because it's enough. Yeah, sorry, I didn't post my social network links. You can find me in Instagram. I write in Instagram. It's Emanuele. Oh, sorry, I'm writing Emanuele _ Biggi. Facebook, you can find me here as I wrote. This is my private account, and I also have a public page. You always find me in Facebook as Emanuele Biggi. And I also have a Twitter account, but I seldom use it. But you always find me as Emanuele Biggi. So I have the Laowa 60mm. Could I do something similar to use CCTV adaptation? Yes. There's a Panagiotis de la Jorgos. I'm sorry if I speak your name in a bad way. That asked me if I have the 60mm lens from Laowa. Yes, I have in the other room. I use it sometimes, but now I mostly substituted it with a 100. But yes, you can try to add a CCTV camera to do some strong wide-angle shot as I show you before. And you can try. It's always about trying with these techniques. I cannot help you more because it's very, very, very difficult to tell you what to buy. It's not like telling you to buy something that is from a brand. You have to put things together to get this kind of shot like this one or like this one. So it's worth trying. It's funny, even because if you use these lenses added on a macro lens, you see the world upside down, and right side becomes left side, and it's very tricky to get these photos. So it's always fun because you learn how to photograph as you were in a mirror. Like, it's very strange. The web page, it's my personal website. It's this one, personal website. Okay, I think if there are no more questions, I can. Yeah, they give me 1 minute for the code. I'm asking to the Laowa's people if they have one for tonight. They could. On my website, you can see, you can also find my personal web page. I mean, my personal Instagram feed. So you can also find that. Yeah, I'm asking about the discount code from tonight. Okay, I'm about to give you that. Wait, copy paste. The discount code is written on the Facebook feed, on the Facebook comments, and I'm about to click this. Just a second. Discount code. Okay, the discount code is that one, and you have to go to the website. It's a 500% discount code. You have to go to the venuslens.net website to get this discount code, not the other distribution sellers and so on. So you have to go to their website. So I'm sorry or putting it later, but for those that are still here, I really appreciate it, because it's very. I'm used to talk with people from a TV channel in Italy. I'm a TV presenter as well, but I normally talk in Italian. It's easier for me. And aside of that, I'm used to talk with people that are with me. So it wasn't very easy to talk to the camera for 1 hour with you. So I really appreciated all the questions and the interest about my work and the compliments and being with friends also. It was very nice. So I hope you enjoyed this night, and I'm about to close if there are no more questions. Jan say thank you for sharing. Thank you for following. Really, I really enjoyed. Really, thank you, Yavanna, for sharing some good. Yeah, thank you, Frederick. Yeah, thank you, everyone. It was very fun. I hope to maybe to do something similar in the future as well for you all in English, because I did something like this before, but just in Italian. So thank you to everyone for being here tonight. I really enjoyed the live show, the live streaming, and also goodbye by Laura's part, I think, because this one was one of the last ones they will do. I'm not really sure they are planning some more for this summer. So be safe, even for this coronavirus situation. Follow all the rules, stay home if you need in your country. In Italy we had problems, as we had in many other parts of the world. So stay safe, enjoy nature, enjoy macro photography, and enjoy. Cheers.